So this right here is my iPhone 7. I bought it brand new from the Apple Store on Black Friday of 2018, about a month after the iPhone XS or XS or whatever that phone is called, about a month after that one came out. And the interaction when I got to the store went a little bit like this. Hi, welcome to Apple. Did you know that I'm a genius? How can I help you today? Hi, thanks. Yeah, I need a new iPhone, please. My current one's pretty busted up, so I'm looking to finally upgrade. Oh yeah, for sure. I can help you with that. Did you want an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 9 or an iPhone 10 or an iPhone 11 or... actually, no, thank you. I actually just want an iPhone 7. You guys still sell the iPhone 7, right? iPhone 7? Why would you want the iPhone 7 when the iPhone XS just came out? Can you believe that Apple called it the iPhone XS and people still buy it? Oh my. Yeah, I mean, I was just doing some research online. I was looking at all the new models and whatnot, and I didn't really see a huge difference from one to the other, at least not enough to justify the price. The iPhone 7 is how much? Yeah, the iPhone 7 is $800. Okay, and the new one, the XS, XS, whatever it's called, how much is that one? The iPhone XS is $1,300. And what exactly does the new one do that the other ones don't? Like, what is the reason that I would want to spend $500 more to get the XS rather than just like a 7? Oh yeah, totally. So first of all, it doesn't have a button on the front. And then second, and most importantly, is it does memojis. I kind of don't even want to know, but what's a memoji? A memoji is when you can put your face underneath an emoji and it will talk and make facial expressions like you. So you can be like a lion or a tiger or a shark or even a poop emoji. So sorry, just to clarify, I have the option to spend $500 more for the ability to make myself into a talking piece of shit. A talking shit emoji, a talking poop emoji. $500. I'll go get your iPhone 7. I'll be right back. See, for many years prior to getting the iPhone 7, I used an iPhone 6 and I beat that thing until it was completely dead. It went through a battery swap, I fell down a flight of stairs, I taped it up, I kept using it, and eventually I knew it was time to upgrade when it just was no longer functioning as a phone. It started dropping calls and I needed it for work and it just became completely unreliable. There's this psychological phenomenon called hedonic adaptation, and basically what it means is that no matter what we acquire or lose in life, our state of happiness returns to relatively the same point. So if you get something new, if you get a new car, if you buy a new house, if you buy a new phone, or if you get a raise at work, you're really happy, but that happiness isn't permanent. And it doesn't take long for it to become just your new normal and for you to be over it. And the same thing can be said for losses. If you go through a breakup or you get fired from your job or you crash your car, all of those things are really upsetting to you when they happen, but eventually you get over it. And your level of happiness returns to about the same place that it was at before that thing happened. I think we've all been in the same situation before where we start window shopping for something, we decide we're going to buy ourselves something, and we become a little bit obsessed. For the sake of this example, let's say it's a car. Let's say you decide you're going to get yourself a new Tesla, and you start looking online and configuring all the options, and in your head you have hyped this up to be the biggest thing ever. So finally you go and you get your Tesla and you feel so happy for a few days, or a few weeks, or maybe even a few months. But at the end of the day, that car becomes your new normal. It becomes just your car, and it doesn't actually change your life as much as you think it's going to, even though you hyped it up to this degree in your head. That's known as a hedonic treadmill. Basically, you're running in one spot and you think you're getting somewhere, but nothing's really changing. This is particularly common when you're trying to start a new habit. Anthony from Break the Twitch has this phenomenal video. I'm going to link to it in the description box down below, and it's about what he calls the false first step. And the false first step is essentially when you're trying to start a new habit and you convince yourself that before you can actually get to work on doing that, you need something new to help you get there. And so you go and you get that thing and you feel like you've made the first step towards your new goal, but you haven't done anything, you've just made a purchase. A good example would be like if you want to start a new exercise regimen, you wanted to start going for runs, and you tell yourself that you're totally going to do it, except you just don't have good running shoes. So you're going to go to the mall, you're going to get yourself a new pair of running shoes, and then you're going to get started. And when you go to the mall the next day and you get those shoes, you feel like $1,000,000. You feel like you're on top of the world because you've just taken the first step towards your new exercise habit. Except that you haven't, and you haven't even run a single mile. It gives you an artificially inflated sense of accomplishment when you haven't actually done anything at all. Very recently, I went through a similar experience myself with this, my camera. This is a Nikon D3200. I bought it about 6 years ago, and at the time that I bought it, I had no idea that I was going to be making YouTube videos, and this camera's just really not well equipped for that. It's lacking a lot of features, which makes the job of making videos much more difficult than it needs to be. But I'm very new to this whole thing. I'm very new to YouTube. I really don't know what I'm doing. And so for a while, I was absolutely determined to make this work, at least until I got some momentum behind me and I knew that I was going to be making videos consistently. I was essentially trying my best to be really diligent, not to make a false first step. The last thing I wanted to do was to go out and spend like $1,000 on a camera and convince myself that that was going to be the thing that made me consistently create content, not knowing for sure if it was a habit that was going to stick at all. I actually made a video very recently about my plans to get a new camera without it costing me anything at all. I'm going to link to it in the description box down below, or maybe up here or up here if I can figure out how to do that. So by all means, go ahead and check out that video. But ultimately, I did decide to go ahead and upgrade, and now I'm using a new camera, which is miles better. I'm like actually in focus, which is crazy. There's this little flip out screen, so if I'm not in focus, I can see it like, welcome to 2021. And so far for me, this has been actually a really good purchase. It has done everything that I needed to do, and thus far, it has not been a false first step for me, which is awesome. And so obviously upgrades are sometimes necessary and sometimes they just aren't. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down my perspective on not only when is the best time to upgrade, but how to do it in a reasonable way. Before I upgrade anything, the first thing I like to ask myself is whether or not the thing that I currently have still does the job that I need it to do. Does the phone you currently have still do what it needs to do? Does your car still get you back and forth from work safely? Can you still go running in the shoes you currently own, even if they're not 100% perfect for the job? If the thing you currently have is still reasonably efficient at doing what you need it to do, I would be inclined to say it doesn't make the most sense to upgrade just yet. Unless, and this is a big one, if the thing that you have creates so much friction that you're not going to be able to do the job, then you definitely need to upgrade. Let's go back for a minute to that example of trying to start a new running habit and not having the perfect shoes. If you don't have perfect running shoes, that's okay. But if you have any sort of other shoes that would fill the purpose, even just temporarily, you can probably start your running habit today. You can start running in Vans or tennis shoes or whatever it is that you currently have. And after a couple weeks, if you realize that you are going to continue with this habit, it makes sense at that point to go and invest in some really good running shoes for yourself because you're going to get good use of them. But if the only shoes you own, for example, are like steel toe boots, yeah, you're probably not going to want to go running in those. Technically speaking, I guess you could, but you're going to be in so much pain and so much discomfort that that's going to stop your progress entirely. It's going to make you not want to go for a run. And that's what I mean by friction. Friction is something that stands between you and what you're trying to accomplish. If the thing that you have creates so much friction that you're not going to be able to do the job, then you definitely need to upgrade. And that was more or less the situation I was in with this Nikon camera. It does technically record video, but it is lacking in so many features that made it so much harder to do the job that it made me not want to do it at all. And though I was initially determined to just stick it through, I know for a fact that if I had to just keep plugging away with this thing, I would have given up long ago. It didn't really have an autofocus feature, so I was constantly out of focus, and it didn't have a flip out screen, so I couldn't even see when I wasn't in focus. And it had this 20-minute recording limit that didn't signal you at all when it stopped recording. So I would be sitting there, talk to the camera, and because I couldn't see the screen, I wouldn't know that it stopped recording or I was out of focus, and I would spend hours just sitting there talking to nobody or looking like this big fuzzy blob. And yeah, needless to say, this was a terrible experience to use. And I know that if I had to stick it out, I would have given up. So for me, it did make sense to upgrade. And so if you're trying to start this new running habit and you only own steel toe boots or like flip-flops or something, then yeah, go get yourself some running shoes. The next thing you should ask yourself, and perhaps this should be the first thing, is can you afford it? Can you buy this new thing without having to finance it or put yourself in debt or put yourself in a situation where you can't pay your bills later on? There are very few things in life that are worthy of putting yourself in a compromised financial position for. And so if you don't have the cash on hand, or if going and buying this new thing is going to put you in a bad spot financially for the next bit, don't buy it. Wait until you can actually afford it. That should be probably number one. Something else to consider is whether or not this thing that you're buying is going to provide you with a value equal to or greater than the amount of money you're spending on it. And when I say value, I mean that both in a monetary and non-monetary sense. In the case of my iPhone, it cost me $800, which felt like a huge punch in the gut at the time, but it's a work phone. I use it for business, and so that's just the cost of business, and thankfully I have made way more than $800 back since having the phone, so it's definitely a worthwhile purchase to me. If going and buying one of those new blenders that can grind up golf clubs actually becomes a thing that kickstarts your new healthy eating habit, then of course it's worth it. But do you actually need a $500 blender to make smoothies? Probably not. So you've decided you're going to go ahead, you're going to make a new purchase, you're going to upgrade your stuff, but how do you do it in a way that is reasonable? First things first is you have to do your research and do a lot of it, because if you don't, you're going to wind up right back in the exact same spot you started from. The last thing anybody wants to do is to buy something only to have it become worn out or broken or obsolete in just a few months. Make sure the thing that you're buying meets your current needs and the needs you foresee yourself having in the near future, but don't buy something that's going to be a dud very soon, and also don't buy something that's way overboard and far more than you need it to be. If, for example, your car's dead and you need to get a new one, it makes perfect sense to buy yourself a pre-owned car that's in decent shape still with low mileage from a dependable, reliable brand that's going to be affordable to drive. What wouldn't make sense would be to go and spend $500 on an absolute piece of garbage that's gonna cost you more money and more stress than it's actually worth. But it also doesn't make sense to go buy yourself like a $100,000 Range Rover just because you need a new car.
You want a G-Wagon for your 16th birthday.
I need my G-Wagon. There's no question. I need it.
Be reasonable. Upgrade to something that meets your needs and that you can afford. And while you're doing your research, take the opportunity to look around for deals as well. Compare prices from different places. Look for coupon codes if you're making an online purchase. If you have the ability to wait for Black Friday or Boxing Day, see if you can do that. And if it makes sense to do so, check out the used market for things as well. Most consumer goods depreciate astronomically as soon as you open the packaging, which means that a brand new iPhone purchased for $1,000 is now automatically only worth $800 as soon as you crack that plastic seal. And you can take advantage of some really good deals out there. And as a bonus tip, keep the things you have in good condition. As I mentioned, things do depreciate pretty quickly, but if you take good care of your stuff, you keep the boxes, and you keep everything in nice shape, you can absolutely retain some of its value, which you can sell when you're no longer going to need it. In the case of this camera, I spent $500 on it about 6 years ago, and even today, I can still get easily $250 to $300 for it because it's still in mint condition. I have the box and all the stuff that goes with it, and so very soon I'm going to sell it, and the money that I get from it is going to help to offset the cost of the new camera that I got. And so that's it. That's my 2 cents on when it makes sense to upgrade and how to do so in a way that benefits you instead of screwing yourself over. Let me know in the comment section down below when the last time was that you were on the hedonic treadmill. What was the last thing that you were researching and obsessing over? And if you ultimately went and bought it, how long did it maintain its novelty to you? How long did it take before it just became your new normal and you kind of lost interest? If you've ever made a false first step and you went and bought something thinking it was going to help you to start a new habit or a new hobby or a new business and it didn't, let me know about that in the comment section below as well. Let me know what it was and why you think it didn't pan out for you. If you found any value at all in this video, please go ahead and hit that like button as well. As I mentioned, I'm pretty new here on YouTube, and every time you hit that like button, it lets me know that you enjoy the content I'm making, so I'll keep making more of it. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.